First Kings 8 and 9, Solomon brought the ark into the temple and sacrificed thousands of animals and dedicating it. The Lord showed up in the form of a cloud filling the house of the Lord. Wow. Can you imagine? Solomon's prayer is awesome and includes reminding the Lord of his covenant with his people as they obey him. Solomon is sure to point out that he understands that this house could never contain the Lord, that he is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, but that it would serve as a gathering place and point of reference. God's presence is not limited to our church buildings, but they can serve as a gathering place and point of reference. Solomon asked the Lord to hear when people show up there to pray or look toward the temple to pray. He even prophetically asked that the Lord would hear the prayers of his people when they look toward this temple from exile. We see Daniel doing this in Babylon. Solomon admits that there is no man who does not sin and that we all need to come to the Lord asking for his grace and mercy and forgiveness. He also points out that God has been and is faithful. He has fulfilled his promises to Israel according to his word. You and I can trust the Lord to be true to his word as well. The Lord appeared to Solomon again, reassuring him that he's heard and honored his prayers. The Lord gives his promises to remain faithful, but warns that Solomon and those coming after him must follow him with all their hearts, or they will be cut off and this house ruined. This too was prophetic, for indeed Israel began to worship other gods, and they were cut off from the Lord, exiled, and this very temple destroyed. One of the most wonderful things about our God is that he gives us a choice as to what to do with him. He is the best thing in town, but he allows us to choose to love him and obey him or not. Consequences follow accordingly for us too. Many ask, how could such a good and loving God allow the evil, wickedness, and corruption that we see in our society today? The answer is that God truly gives mankind a choice. And many have chosen to turn their backs on God, to try to cancel him, to do their own thing. That's why we see a mess in our society and the apostate church right now. But God will ultimately have his way, and his good, acceptable, and perfect will shall be accomplished. We have a wonderful future in Christ. For now, we truly see God giving mankind a choice. Luke 21, 1 through 19, Jesus pointed out that the poor widow who gave all she had actually gave more than the rich who gave out of their surplus. Jesus again says, what have you done with what I've given you? You are not responsible for what you don't have, but for what you do have. This woman obviously trusted God wholeheartedly. Her faith was in him alone without compromise. Is our faith in Christ alone without compromise? Jesus, observing the temple, said it would be torn down. When asked when, he moved forward from this AD 70 destruction of the temple to speak of signs that would be evident and increasing before his return, his second coming. He spoke of many claiming to be the Messiah, of wars and disturbances, nations rising against nations, great earthquakes, plagues, famines, terrors, and great signs from heaven. Prior to this, many would be persecuted and even killed, but Jesus encouraged that this would be opportunity to tell people about him. Of course, we have seen much of this already occurring in history, but it seems as though as the time draws nearer, these signs will intensify, as do birth pangs. We do not know the day or the hour when Christ shall return. We can be overwhelmed by signs and circumstances going on in our midst, even right now. It is important that we do not become sensationalists and begin to attempt to define exactly what is going on. We simply do not know for sure, but we do know that Jesus is coming back. We do know that there are many signs which are even now intensifying. What do? We continue to live day by day, being about the Father's business, spending good quality time in his word and following it, like we are right now, redeeming the time with one eye looking for our blessed hope, leaving the timing and fulfillment up to him.